The question I'm going to ask today, Dad, Papa, is...
And today I want to talk to you, Mom.
The question that we're going to talk about is...
What is the most scared I've ever been? That one leapt off the page for me.
How we embrace the things that we've done that we regret in life.
How I almost died twice in 2 years.
How was the day of your wedding?
Well, there's an interesting story with that.
And I can tell you about it.
Welcome to the Storyworth Podcast. I'm your host, Storyworth co-founder, Krista Baum. Each week on the show, we bring people together to discover stories they've never heard about the people they thought they knew. We hear real conversations about the stories, big and small, that shape us. Today on the podcast, a story about reimagining what family can look like. Two best friends build a life together, raising a child and redefining family along the way.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Amrita. Andrew is my best friend and a co-parent to my 2-year-old son. And we're here today to talk to you about untangling family from love and romance.
So, Amrita and Andrew, how did the two of you meet?
A matchmaker is how we met, really. We met at work. We were both music agents when we were 24 years old. I worked on one side of the office. She worked on the other side of the office. We had a particularly friendly, vivacious secretary who worked in the middle of the office, receptionist, who was woefully overqualified for that position. And she match-made us as friends. Otherwise, our paths would not have crossed, just the way the architecture
Office
of the
layout.
firm was. And she told me, and she told her, I think you two would be friends. You should go to each other's desk and talk. The receptionist sent us an email that said, meet in the lobby at this time. And we met in the lobby.
No way, really? I don't remember that.
And yeah, I remember this because you were wearing, I don't know, a periwinkle office sweater that was like pilling and had brownie dust on it, which is why I remember.
I cannot defend myself from those allegations. I'm sure that's true.
Andrew, are you friends with her because of the pilled sweater and the brownie dust, or in spite of?
Well, I think like attracts like. And I saw that sad office sweater and I knew there was a heart of gold under that.
Amrita, what is your first, even if you don't remember the first meeting, do you remember having an early impression of Andrew?
Yeah, I really thought he was very stern. He has a very sort of serious brow line, which is he can't help it. That's just his face. So I really thought he was very just all business, really serious, straight ahead, and that's really the first impression I can remember. And but I do have a lot of early memories of kind of walking across the office to like deliver a deal memo or a contract or something, and then just getting swept away in a conversation, like perching on the edge of his desk and then sitting there until someone complained that I needed to leave.
Is there an anecdote, like something that happened where you like kind of sums up your relationship?
The first thing that comes to mind, and I'll let you tell it, Amrita, is our trip to Miami.
Oh, I like this already. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's sort of a formative, it's like a really formative moment because it was really early on in our friendship. And we, along with some of the other junior people in our office, it was over some happy hour or something. What happened is that everyone was like, wouldn't it be crazy if we just like flew to Miami this weekend? We were making pennies, but it was like, oh, there's like a $50 flight to Miami. What if we just went? And I was like, yeah. And Andrew's like, yeah, that sounds great. And, and so we had this sort of like group energy that like everybody's going to go to Miami. And then everyone backed out except for the two of us. And then it was this kind of like weird thing because like we don't really know each other at this point. Like we're acquaintances, we have a friendly relationship at work like you would with your coworker. And then and we were like, well, should we just go? So we went on this like extremely, when I tell you like extremely budget, super budget
with a
trip
big old B.
I don't think we can accurately say we were in Miami. We were sort of like in a roadside motel somewhere between Fort Lauderdale and Miami, like off the side of the road.
It was also an interesting trip because I remember it was the first time that, Amrita and I were sharing a hotel room, and it was the first time that actually Amrita had heard me sing.
I want to say maybe he was in the shower or something, and I was just like in the other room in the hotel. And I was just like stopped in my tracks. I mean, I do really remember that really vividly. I was like, wow, like a voice of an angel. Like what? Like what?
I went to school for music, and then we were music agents, and it was like a big part of my life and a big part of like my identity.
Because like where would I've had the context for that, I guess, because we were work friends. We would go out to happy hour, we'd go out to dinner or whatever. But there's something, I guess, that like is more intimate on the off time.
Mm-hmm. Amrita, do you remember what song he was singing in the shower?
No, I wouldn't even know how to pronounce it. It was some like German like art song.
Oh, is it like opera?
Yeah, no, way nerdier, in fact. Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
But I think it was like immediately obvious that we were really like willing to make the most of a kind of like a shitty motel and a like having no money and just trying to figure out like where can we go and what can we do. Like we had the best time at IHOP, like memorably amazing.
I love.
Amazing experience at IHOP. And just I think that was revealing of like, okay, we're gonna just like roll with the punches and like see what happens.
I mean, if you can't laugh over a grand slam, who even are you? I totally get this whole thing. Well, then could maybe both of you walk me through the beats of your life that brought you to starting a family together?
I think the fundamental way we got there was making a choice our entire relationship to not shy away from being really close. So we were only work colleagues for a matter of 10 or 11 months. But we maintained our relationship, and I think at every juncture when we could have made it deeper, we did. And it wasn't that long, a handful of years, a couple of years that I had shared with Amrita that I thought in the future I did want to have children. But when I said that I did want to have children, it wasn't this like visceral emotional feeling that I wanted to have children tomorrow. It was part of a bigger conversation about what are the big things that I want to happen in my life. So I think that was like a seed that was planted pretty early on, probably over a beer. And there came a point when that thing I said years ago about wanting to have a kid then becomes a little more urgent because of time. I say I want children, but what does that mean? And I do have this boyfriend, but even then we are going to need some sort of pathway to make that happen.
Who broached that question first? Andrew, did you ask Amrita, or Amrita, did you offer to?
This was like definitely over a beer, like off the cuff of like, oh yeah, I would totally donate an egg. Like I'll like carry your baby. And I think it was really as lighthearted as that. I kind of had always thought that I was not going to be a parent. That was just something that like I had never had interest in, and I sort of even then in my mid-20s felt like I was going to be child-free by choice for life. Like I don't want to have my own child, but this is kind of a neat workaround that I could like support you in the thing you want to do.
Andrew, when she said it, did you clock it as like, How did you take that?
I remember when it happened, and I took it in a lighthearted spirit, because the truth is we had like a lot of those like quote philosophical conversations over a drink that got less philosophical and sloppier, the longer the night went on. So there were a lot of hours spent talking about our lives, our career, the state of the city and the world, and what we wanted. And part of the intimacy in our relationship was always supporting each other in whatever the other person wanted in their life. And this was just one of those.
So when did this get real?
Just a really gradual deepening of like friendship intimacy. There were definitely a lot of way stations along the way. We started doing all this creative work together and making stuff outside of the office, and found that we had a similar ethos. We started a company together a few years later. And, I think that's something that's a little bit maybe like an unromantic beat in this story is that there's something that's very intimate about going into business with somebody that's a lot like a marriage, sort of.
It's a partnership for sure.
And I think that was sort of a interesting, like sort of a communal way of approaching resources in our lives that, for me at least, definitely was eye-opening and changed the way I thought about the resources in my life. And I think like part of it was really just timing, and it started to get to this point where we'd had conversations about it. At this point, maybe we'd had multiple conversations about it, and we're both getting to be like almost in our mid-30s at this point. So I think there was like an element of practicality to it too, that we had some of these conversations, and they were like, well, if we want that option to remain on the table, let's just go to the fertility clinic. I think you sometimes have this fantasy of like, hey, what if like, all of our friends lived in tiny houses, like all next door to each other, and wouldn't that be cool? And wouldn't that be such a fun way to like have community? And at a certain point, it's like, you just do it or you don't do it. and right. I think it's like you
get on the flight to Miami.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are we going to do this? Like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And let's actually just like make the leap.
We had started on the journey in 2019. We had first began with the idea of egg freezing. And then Amrita said, at this point in her life, she's like, well, I know I'm not going to want my own children, so why don't we just do embryos instead of just frozen eggs? Because it's easier to do in one go. And so we decided to do that, which is what was happening in early to mid 2020. I had just gotten out of a relationship in December 2019. So headed into the pandemic, personally in a different situation. And we kind of hunkered down. We lived just a few blocks away from each other. So we had a little pod. And then because Amrita mentioned our business was live events, as you can imagine, nothing of that was going on. And so our leases expired a little bit into 2020, August of 2020, actually. And we mutually decided, we're not going to keep our leases on our apartments. Let's hit the road for a while. We had never lived together. So we spent a month in Detroit. Then we went and worked at a candy store in Cape Cod. And then we found ourselves in New Orleans, where we stayed for 10 and a half months. And so we had a lot of conversations. I would say New Orleans was really the time where I was always open to Amrita taking whatever role she wanted to with my children. I told her it can be the auntie, it can be mom, but it has to be whatever it is before the child is here, and it can't change after that point. So there has to be commitment. But I'm open to all of it because we're always going to be in each other's life anyway. And so New Orleans was that time when I think, and I'll let Amrita speak for herself, when her ideas of what she wanted that to be changed.
So what happened?
Yeah, I think a lot of existential things happened during that time period for people. But I think, living with Andrew it opened my eyes to the idea that I wouldn't necessarily have to parent in a way that I had sort of always found very stifling. The idea of being a wife and a mom, it like viscerally made me feel like kind of it just wasn't for me. Like it felt like a narrowing of my world, and it felt too hard for me. And I just felt I'm not up for that. I'm not up for that task. But being able to like live with Andrew and I really kind of the aha was basically, oh, I could be a mom without being like wife and mom.
All right. So you came to terms with the idea that like motherhood didn't displace Amrita with a partner like Andrew.
Absolutely.
Andrew, how did you when she had that conversation, were you like a little relieved, or were you like, did you have to take a beat and like kind of imagine what parenthood would be like for you? Or
the truth is, from the moment that we met and our lives moved forward, like nothing went to plan. Our careers weren't what we wanted them to be. Our romantic lives weren't what we wanted them to be. Then, the world happened and we find ourselves in like quarantine, and that's not what I started to come to this place where it's like nothing is as it's planned. So the things that I do know are that I love this person and that we really share so many values, like fundamental values. And to get caught up in the details, and I know that sounds crazy to say that it's a detail for someone to be either like a mother 50% or like the auntie who lives down the block, but in truth that's how it felt in my head. Like that, those are details. Those are just details, because what I know is relationships in general are the only thing you have in your life. So like I said, we're going to decide before the baby comes. We're going to be responsible in that way. We're not going to be changing our minds. We're going to be consistent. But those are they just felt like details.
So you were like unfazed.
Completely.
So tell me about birthday.
Well, we were scheduled, you see, to go in and get an induction.
I had gestational diabetes, so that they were like, you cannot go 1 minute, 1 hour past 40 weeks.
So we had the hospital told us when to show up. And so we're driving to the hospital. We get maybe 10, 15 minutes away from the house because the hospital's across the other side of Brooklyn. And we get a call from the hospital that they are just jam-packed with babies. Just everyone's showing up. So go back home and we'll call you when you're ready. So we turn around, we go back home, we wait. Then we go back again hours and hours later. And there's still just this onslaught.
It was like every woman in the borough of Brooklyn was like just spontaneously going into labor at this exact moment.
We were sitting in a hallway and there were not enough chairs. So we're like standing awkwardly in a hallway next to, a whole slew of women who were deep breathing. So we are stuck in triage for 24 hours.
I actually had a mental breakdown, which is what Andrew's skipping over, which is that I threw a fit and I just completely snapped. And I was like, you have to give me a room. Like, you have to get me out of here.
So, we live in New York, but our families don't live in New York. So it was just her and I, it was just her and I.
Yeah, we had sort of talked about, is he going to be at the head of the bed or the foot of the bed, and I was kind of like, whatever. This is like not really a modesty issue at this point. There's like something more, there's like a bigger thing happening here. So you can pick your comfort zone. But really the decision was made for us by a really brusque midwife who she was like not having this idea of like politely standing by. She was like, get over here. She's like, get over here. Hold this
make
thing.
yourself useful.
Yeah, make yourself useful.
Yeah.
And she just was like really like a no bullshit person.
And what was fun about her is that through this process, there were very notable moments where medical staff didn't understand our relationship, were very confused by it. A lot of words had to be exchanged. And even then, it was like they never They just never understood.
Constantly. I would go to these medical clinics that would be like decorated for pride. And, they were really proud of their own like open-mindedness about gay couples being at the fertility clinic or whatever, all these different kinds of families. But what they really meant was two romantically involved partners, and that they didn't care what the gender was of those partners, not like doing the whole family thing in a different way. Like I really had to explain from scratch, like every single new practitioner that I saw.
They just never understood. The hospital took time and read the file, and the midwife read the file, and she came in and she said, I worked in Greenwich Village for decades, and I've seen all sorts of families just like you. Like, it was very much like she had this like cigarette that she flung out of her mouth, and it was just like, your relationship doesn't matter to me. Let's get this kid out healthy.
And what did you name him?
His name's Aadi. It was very important to me that he had an Indian first name. And Aadi is like the beginning. And just a name that we both gravitate towards.
I love that. Can you walk us through how you guys parent? Like, what's your life like? How do you sort out all the logistics?
We did decide to continue living together for the immediate future.
Yeah. Well, we came back from the hospital, and the first few weeks, just adjusting to everything and just keeping something alive.
Survival mode.
Then once we had a moment to catch up a little bit, Amrita came up with the idea. She said, I think we need to just take shifts. Let's just do this shift thing. Roughly, there was a morning shift and an afternoon shift, and it was every other day. So if I had the morning one day, I had the afternoon the next day. And she said, let's just start it and see what happens, because then we don't have to talk to each other about scheduling everything or doing everything.
And I have a deep focus, block of time.
To just sleep.
Or work, or socialize, or do whatever. Again, because we are friends, we have separate bedrooms, which I think is we each get a full night's sleep every other night. So it really helped. It's still tiring, obviously, but it meant that we had slightly fresher legs, I think.
Logistically, I can see how that was really nice.
Yeah, we had a travel crib that we would move into each room for the night. And our landlord / friend, after he was born, she just said, we have to build a room down there for him. Got a contractor. Built a room. So now he has his own room. And we stuck to that schedule. We even actually stick to that schedule now. Who gets up with him in the morning and gets him ready for school? It's just an every other day thing.
Have you had a moment when you've all been together recently as a family where you've been able to stop and think, this is who we are as a family?
All the time. I feel like before we got on this call, our lives, the routine that we have is one of us takes him to daycare, which is a block and a half away. The other person picks him up from school. We walk home together, and we play in the living room. We have music on, and we play every day. And one of us cooks dinner, and it's obnoxious how many times we look at each other and be like, oh, he's the best. He's the cutest. Isn't this the best? And he is so delighted to have everyone in the same room. So if we have friends over, he, from very young, he makes this move with his arms, like he's hugging the air. And he'll say, I'm happy when everyone's around. And they don't even have to be playing with him. He oftentimes, Amrita and I are in the living room, and he says, he'll say, talk to each other. And he just wants us to talk to each other while he's playing with his cars on the floor. And I think we take the time to look at each other and be like, wow, this is cool. This is great.
Mm-hmm. Do you sing to him?
Oh, all the time. And he sings to us.
Every day.
What do you sing to him?
Oh, what are his favorites? Well, he loves Baba Black Sheep.
No, but Andrew, you do sing classical music to him sometimes. I sing Indian classical music to him sometimes too. But yeah, he's a kid. He likes the kid stuff.
What do you hope that he learns from growing up the way he's growing up?
I hope he learns and that we impart the idea that the relationship that we have and the relationship he can have with other people, the intimate relationships he can have in his life, don't have to look a certain way, that he can really be true to connecting with the people in his life that he loves. And he can do that in the way that works best for him.
What do you two picture your family looking like in old age?
There's a lot of things we don't know. I think both Andrew and I are interested and very open to the idea of, romantic partnership for both of us, or, maybe even marriage for one or both of us, and having new people sort of enter the equation, always keeping our sort of responsibility to our child or children, like, at the core. But I think, I just kind of see like being in old age kind of, not living together, but maybe still living close by each other. We're definitely committed at least to living either with each other or in very close proximity as we raise our kid or kids. And I just kind of see like hopefully that sort of adventure continuing.
Andrew, how about you? When you're old and gray, what does life look like?
Yeah. It's simple, but like at the end of the day, when I'm old and gray, I just want to be surrounded by people, by these relationships, old and new, and probably somewhere with a nice view.
Do you think there are more children?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Together?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful.
We'd love for him to have a sibling.
You really need to name your next kid's middle name after this receptionist,
Yes.
I think. Thank you so much, you guys. It was such a pleasure. Really fun.
Yeah, great to meet you.
It was really a pleasure for us too. Thanks so much.
That's it for this episode of the Storyworth Podcast. I'm Krista Baum. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, rate and review our podcast wherever you're listening. Stories featured on the Storyworth Podcast are shared with the express permission and participation of the storyteller. All Storyworth stories are private by default. Visit storyworth.com to learn more about us. And this podcast was produced by the folks at Good Weight Productions. Remember, everyone has a story worth sharing. See you soon.